I'm in Vienna, Austria. Been here for 2 days. I flew in like a 25-hour flight, China Airlines. Got a pretty good flight, but I've been a little bit jet lagged and sort of hiding away a little bit. But it's, I think, 5:30 in the morning here now. It's World Cup, and all night you can hear people screaming, yelling, and all this kind of stuff. And at the moment, like, people are still up drinking and getting home. So I'm just going to show you around the city in the morning and see what you think. This here is Stefan's Dorm Nordturm. I think it's a church. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a church, and it's one of the most famous landmarks here when you look it up. So this city, I'm going to show you the outskirts of it, but it's really old, and it was, it does have a Roman history to it as well. Coming up to a famous landmark. I'm assuming it's famous because it's got golden tips. And I just walked past some guys who were still up asking me for a cigarette. They're very desperate for cigarettes. They're so cheap over here, you can get them everywhere. Vending machines, I think like 4 or 5 euro for a packet. And beer here is cheaper than Coca-Cola. For like a pint of beer, it's like in a bar, it's roughly 2 euro, and to get a Coca-Cola, I think from what I saw yesterday, it was like 250 euro. So beer is very cheap. Let's have a look at this. The reason I'm doing this so early in the morning is that yesterday it was so crazy. There were thousands and thousands of people, big groups of tourists, and you just wouldn't be able to do any of this around. So I'm up at 5:30 in the morning. So you got these nice alleyways. It's a very beautiful city. It just seems just very European. I haven't really been like enchanted by it. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe it's because I'm just jet lagged. But anyway, a bit of history. So the Romans set up camp here. Is essentially the city is a semicircle, which is the original old city, which I'm in now. And there was a big medieval wall to stop people from coming in. And I think there was a big attack from the Turks, but they didn't get through. So it held up pretty good. As far as that's concerned. We're going to go to the wall as well. Like, there's no wall anywhere, but it's now just a ring park. Pretty sure that's just a Catholic church. I'm looking up everything on my phone as I go. There's just so much stuff to look at that, it just becomes a bit same after a while. You can take a photo of everything, but they're all buildings and churches. This is a shopping district full of all the famous overpriced brands. So that's one of the first things you see when you look up what to do in Vienna. It's funny how consuming fancy items like Louis Vuitton handbags for 80 grand or whatever is something that's high up on the list of people when they come to cities. You can get this stuff anywhere in the world, but smoking's still glorified. You got these tobacco shops here, pipes, cigars. Pretty crazy. Michael Platz. This is another church, I think. It's the Church of the Emperors. So this is like a really old part of town. It's where all the, the elitists, I guess, had their church and everything. From what I read as well, I think there's some Roman ruins around here. So yeah, the Romans set up camp here, which is pretty cool. This place is over 2,000 years old. Okay, so I found the Roman ruins. They're right in the center here. So Roman walls, 1st to 5th century, which is pretty cool. Roman house with murals and underfloor heating, 2nd to 4th century. Still looks in pretty good shape. It's funny that people throw coins for luck. I've never understood that. I guess it's a superstition. Speaking of superstition or myths, there is the famous spear that supposedly went through Jesus while he was on the cross. That has been written, there's a few different accounts, but supposedly it was originally, well, not originally, but it did end up in a museum in Vienna. And I did a bit of looking into this because, obviously there's some myths and stories around this, but this spear is it's an object of power, and it was the one that the Romans put through Jesus on the cross. Came to Vienna and stayed here, and supposedly this was written in a book. See, I'm trying to think, I just read this on Wikipedia, but there was a book about the spear, and it basically, it led to that, Hitler started the war in order to get the spear, because the spear was an object of power, and anyone that held the spear was, supposedly the most powerful person in the world. So I don't know if that's true or not. I couldn't find anything to back that up, that he actually came here and, got the spear and so forth. But there's definitely a lot of myth surrounding these sort of ancient objects. Entering an area called Hofburg. So just doing a bit of a walking tour. Bunch of museums around here in this area. I'm not sure exactly what's in them, But this is also the pretty sure birthplace of Mozart. So it's very classical music focused. I think now there's more of a nightlife for, you know, nightclubs and doof music than there is classical. But yeah, I think this is the place as well to see operas and ballets. Notice they do have a lot of cleaners around here because it's apparent that no one really gives a shit about putting their rubbish in the bin. There's like beer cans everywhere and you can just see like the parks. This is just one night. It's just littered and they'll come and clean it all up. But yeah, it's interesting. If this wasn't, if they didn't have people to clean this up, I mean, it'd be crazy dirty and people just don't seem to give a shit about anything like that. Like cigarettes, like it's just you throw cigarettes on the ground even though there's bins and stuff everywhere. So it's interesting culture. I'm just walking around the Ring Straße, I think it's called, Ring Street, which I'm pretty sure this is where the wall was, but there's no remnants of the wall anymore. They've got rid of it. Hundreds, I think maybe even more than that, hundreds of years ago. So it's just a street now which creates the semicircle. So if you look it up on Google, you see that the main area is like a semicircle. So I'm actually traveling to Dresden today and then I'll follow on from Dresden and go to Berlin. I'm going to try and stay in Berlin for a little bit and maybe get an apartment and see what it's like living in a city like Berlin. So I'm just looking at people stumbling over there. It's like, what, 7 a.m. in the morning and people are still out, like drinking, stumbling around. Yeah, big drinking culture with the World Cup on at the moment. This is the Opera House just behind here. Back here at the big church and I bought some new shoes and they're scratching at my Achilles for the whole walk. So now it's red raw, I'm getting blisters, so I have to cut it short. But you get an idea, like it's a very dense city, full of buildings, old architecture. You know, it's super dense. It's beautiful, for sure.